Good evening. All right. So the last time I was going to do this live, audio was just terrible. So I am just now getting back to this. It's been a couple weeks, but I shared some content. Check out the YouTube channel. I love going live because I can do some stuff on LinkedIn and all that. So I normally don't upload videos there. So I'm excited to get into this story. Before we get into this deal, which is a lot of fun, couple announcements. I've got a really cool video on equity consulting and its impact on who's now the wealthiest Black person in America. And I want to share with you guys kind of an interesting twist that not a lot of people know about his business model. So check that out. That's coming out tomorrow. But yeah, just general community announcements. I have to say a big congrats to Andrew. He just got an LOI on our largest deal, $8 million deal and good merger. So big congrats to him. Also, one of the other things with the good merger in general, if you weren't on today's call, be sure to get that recording. We got some really cool updates on just the model, the different income streams that are coming from the model, and yeah, just some really cool things for you folks that are merger specialists with Good Merger. And it's still just built around the concept that we want all of the leads that you're getting, we want you to have every way possible to monetize those. But big ups to Andrew. That's a really, really big deal. His career largest deal. He's done some seven-figure deals. This is his larger. We're still wanting to break that eight-figure glass ceiling. So we'll make it happen, I'm sure. But big congrats to him. Want to congratulate Mr. Ibram. We've got his very first deal. So in the Acquisition Holdco program, we've done like 11 deals, but we just got our very first deal that's getting put on the market that's basically being flipped. So he's going to net hopefully around 300,000 off of that. So big congrats to him. And it's been cool for everybody in the community to kind of watch that journey. Congrats to my man Josh. His acquisition is done. He's got his first event that's in that, basically a part of that deal in August. And I'm very excited about, when I get the young folks, when I get the old folks, obviously, we want to go out and we do this stuff. But when I get somebody who's, in their 20s, just a young guy, it reminds me of myself that gets to do these deals and then is really taking action. I love it. So big congrats to you, sir. What other community announcements do we have? I just launched the equity consulting. Luke, who y'all see on the YouTube channel all the time, congrats on being a part of this inaugural group of the equity consulting. Just had the first part of that framework last week. Y'all are getting the next part of that framework tomorrow. So we got a lot of community members that are in that. Lance is in it. Elijah's in it. Onisha's in it. Warren, my man Warren, who can help you with all your email marketing needs as well. I think, Warren, you're going to be amazing with this equity consulting framework, man. You're just in the exact spot. We got Fred's in it, Damon's in it, Curtis, Harold, and I'm missing some folks, but a lot of great folks that I've been having conversations with. So really, really glad to have you all. And then big ups to Kevin Anthony in the Patreon group. Congrats on your trade. I share my trades that I'm doing in the Acquisition Holdcos inside of the Patreon. Nobody should just follow my trades blindly. You should do your research. It's a specific type of trading that is just based on generating income. So it's not for everybody. And no matter what, you should always be doing your own research. But shout out to Kev, made $1,100 this week. Saw my trade, but did his own research and then decided that he felt like it was a good deal as well. If you're interested in that uh, consulting, the equity consulting framework, feel free to. I did a free training on that we can send you. So if you're interested in that, I didn't put the email in the description for the live, but I'll add it. It's apprentice@equity.consulting. So not .com. It's apprentice@equity.consulting. All right, put y'all's questions in. I want to talk about the Acehole story from the standpoint of what you can learn from it. So, it's obviously a funny story, it's a crazy story, but I think the real lesson for me was, wow, like even when a deal goes horribly wrong, if you can be creative, there could be ways to save it. So one of the parts of this that I think is really valuable for right now is the Acehole story started with a roll up. And I'm talking to more and more people. It's one of the things that I love about Cody Sanchez, being such a big influencer and talking about acquisitions. I think we've got more people than ever that understand the value of doing deals with these baby boomer businesses. And so that was really my target when I was doing this particular roll up. I was going after people who had been in these businesses for years and years. There were spas. We were targeting businesses, only the ones that have been in business for 30 years plus. And we were able to buy 5 of these businesses over the course of about a year and a half. So it was a pretty short period of time. And we targeted 2 types of businesses. One was spas, and then the other was tanning salons. And in both cases, we were looking for conversions. So if we bought a spa, we were adding a tanning component to it. And if we bought a tanning salon, then we're adding massage and the spa services to it. And in general, I was having this conversation with one of the actually Holdco members, and we're talking. It's somebody who has a tech background, and so they're talking about buying a tech business. And my thing for him was, I would probably look at buying a boring business that I can add tech to. With every deal that you're doing, you're trying to figure out, what can I do in this business that will instantly have an impact on that. And so, with each one of these businesses we bought, they had 30 years of existence. They had tons of clients, big databases. And so every time we bought one, we were able to add a service that we could promote to all of those folks. So the plan was we rebranded all 5 of those. And the plan was we were going to essentially sell them as a package. So if you've ever seen people talk about or watch somebody complete a roll up, typically you're going to put a unifying brand. You're going to leverage each one against the other. And so in this case, every time we did an acquisition, I think this is one of the things that most people take for granted, is that buying businesses is more than just buying income. That was the big aha moment, or the paradigm shift for me. So the paradigm shift for me when I first acquired my first deal was, what in the world? This is crazy. I can actually buy income. I don't have to, build a business from scratch or go out and get a job and all these things that I've been taught. But as you get into this and you get deeper, you realize whatever I need in the business that I own, I can buy another business that already is great at that. So, in the first acquisition that I did in that roll up, operations were a huge strength, marketing was a huge weakness. So, the next one that we acquired, we literally just bought the opposite. So, we could have an impact and grow the operations, and we could leverage their marketing. And it was really interesting. We bought this tennis salon that was just horrible as far as operations. It was just a mess, a wreck. But they were so good at marketing that it made up for all the customer service, and I love those kinds of deals. So we acquired the second one. Then we bought a third and fourth. And we were really, I was done. I had somebody who wanted to buy the package of four. And then we got the fifth one. And that was like an addition. And then we had somebody who reached out for us to acquire the sixth one. And that's where all the kind of madness started. And this is one of the things that I'm always telling people. I think one of the biggest keys, and as I look back on mistakes and wins that I made in that roll up, one of the mistakes was not being really, really aggressive with the outreach and deal flow tactics right from the beginning. So if I could go back, I would be really aggressive reaching out to people right at the beginning. I was being very strategic about how I reached out because, at the end of the day, in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, we can't do that many deals. I was also younger. I was still figuring out a lot of this stuff. And, it's like, all right, I got to do kind of one of these at a time, but I could have been starting some of those conversations. But because of the way that we were building out the deal flow, I was having people kind of reaching out as I was really done with the roll up. And so I had somebody who reached out, and they had a salon that we'd been kind of sending messages to, sending mailers, calling, that kind of thing. And so they finally reached out and said, hey, we're ready to sell now, months after we had initially contacted them. And I told them, listen, I'm already done with this acquisition, with this roll up. And what I'll have to do, so I do have to roll in a sec. So what I'll do is give y'all kind of this part one, and then we'll do a part two. So I meet with this guy, and I go and I check out the salon. And he's like, okay, great. I'm like, well, I'll give you a call later and I'll run the numbers and let you know what the offer is. And so I call him and he's like, hey, you know what? I know you want to give me the offer over the phone. I'd rather you just come to dinner. I like to do business face to face. So let's meet again, come to my house for dinner, and we can talk about it. And so I'm like, okay, it's kind of a pain. Like I'm already just trying to wrap up this roll up. I've got a buyer. I've got to convince them on whatever deal that I do. I have to convince them to buy this deal with it. So there's just a lot of contingencies. And so I had a partner that I was doing this deal with. And so I got him and we drive out to the middle of nowhere. There's like literally no lights, street lights. It gets to a point where there are no street lights. So I get to his house and he's really nice. Everything's great. Family's really nice. And we sit down, he asks me the offer. He gets really upset when I tell him the offer. And I'm looking at him, he's not saying anything. At first, I feel like he's just using a negotiation tactic because I told him the offer and he just doesn't say anything. I'm kind of eating. And it's not until I look up and I realize, oh, this guy's like beet red. He's like really upset. So he starts cursing me out, kicks me out of his house. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, I really did what about it. It needed to be an amazing, amazing offer if I were going to buy the business. And so I'm in the car with my partner, and we're like, yeah, that was crazy, but yeah, let's get out of this. Let's get out of these woods. It was just, the house was beautiful, but it was just out in the middle of nowhere. So I am talking on the phone, and I get a beep in, and I'm like, wait a minute, who is this number? Sure enough, it's the wife calling. The wife calls. She says, hey, I want to apologize for my husband. Like, we talked after you left, and we actually want to accept the offer. And a few days had passed, actually, since I met with him. And I tell her, it's like, listen, like, that offer is now off the table. Like, I'm not even interested in that offer anymore. And she's like, well, just let us know what you would buy it for. So at this point, it's like, okay, I'm even closer to exiting this thing. It's going to have to be a really amazing offer. And I literally just was coming up with an offer for them to say no. So, I call her back. I'm like, hey, this is the offer. She's like, all right, let me talk to my husband. And I just assumed if he was upset about that first offer, he's going to be ballistic about this offer. But she calls me back and she says, yeah, we're going to take it. We're going to accept the offer. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird, but great. I like the business for that. I will take it. It was basically a 1x of the business net profit. So I told him, hey, I can close very quickly. I talked to my buyers. I'm like, hey, basically it was going to be a double for me. I'm like, we're selling everything at 3. We're going to give this to you for a 2 multiple. They're happy. The sellers getting out of the deal quick. It's like, we're going to close this thing really quick. So we close in about a week, and I walk into the business for the first time since just the day that I initially met the seller and saw this thing. And at this point, I knew the POS system. I'd owned 5 of these businesses. I kind of knew enough about the business to be really comfortable, and with the pricing and all of that. So I walk in, and I'm talking to the manager again, and she's like, have you seen the email? And I'm like, I'm not on the email list. Like, what email are you talking about? It's like the email from the old owners. And she's like, you need to see this email. I could tell by the look at her face, like, it was not a good email. So I go, I check the email, and the one word that popped out immediately was Acehole. I was just like, I'd never seen. I'm like, Acehole, what is that? Like, why is that in here? And he basically says, I want to let all of our loyal customers know that we've sold the business. We sold it to this guy, Ace Chapman, but they should really call him an Acehole. He's been horrible to deal with. You should definitely cancel your membership. And so I'm reading this. Obviously, my heart sinks. It's like, oh my goodness, I got to figure out what to do with this thing. I can't give this to my other owners. Sure enough, like, people are canceling their membership. It is just a complete nightmare. So I'm going to cut it there, and I will tell y'all in the next one how I turn that situation around. And it's really what I do in a lot of deals now that aren't even terrible deals to make sure that we are always, always good. Thank y'all for popping in. Let's get a couple of comments and we'll bounce out of here. Jay popped in, says, always enjoy your talks. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. Sigma Enigma, what is up? Says, greetings all the way from in California. Joseph, actually, I'm going to be out in LA sometime late July. So if you pop down there from Santa Barbara, would love to connect. We got Joseph says, good evening, Ace. Thanks for the content. Thank you for coming in. And we got Nathaniel Brown says, what a cliffhanger. I know. We will be back soon. Thanks, Nathaniel. Everybody have a good one. Talk to y'all soon.